Hello everyone. I'm very excited to launch my first full online painting lesson, where we will paint this pretty little scene from the north coast of Spain. We start with a rainy sky, work through painting water and reflections, and then spend time on the all-important boats. In this short clip, I'll show you how I painted the moody sky. I'm working from a photo I took of some old boats in San Vicente de la Barquera. Please excuse my pronunciation. This pretty little town is on the north coast of Spain, and if you like old boats as much as I do, then this spot is heaven. Let's get started. I tape my piece of paper securely to a board on all of its sides, and then I tilt the board slightly by raising the back of the board about 5 centimeters or 2 inches higher than the front of the board. Now it's time to mix some colors, and I'm going to show you here how I mixed the sky colors. I used lots of water to make a big pool because the sky is big and I'm going to need lots of paint. I mixed Paynes grey, ultramarine, and phthalo blue together to make a nice big puddle of paint. I keep it more on the Paynes grey side, but I use 3 colors because they'll separate out in the sky and keep things interesting. My sky color is all mixed and I put it to my right hand side, and now it's time to wet the sky. I use a very big flat brush to do this, and you'll see that it's very, very wet. You can see that bead of water at the bottom. I have my board on a slight angle so that the water runs down towards the bottom. I cover the whole sky and right down to the water line over those back hills, and I'm careful to avoid the mast. This particular mast is made of wood, so I don't have to worry about it too much. Had it been a white mast, I probably would have used masking fluid so that I made sure I didn't get any paint on that area. Now that the sky is thoroughly and evenly wet, we can drop in some color. We don't want color everywhere because we want some nice bright white clouds. So just drop it in randomly and let the water spread the paint out nice and softly and moodily. Because my board is at an angle, the paint is running down, creating that rain effect. I'm very gentle with my brush strokes. I am just dropping the paint in and not scrubbing it into the paper. As I get towards the horizon line, I change my strokes from being more vertical to more horizontal, and I also make the marks much smaller, and I leave less white marks as well. You'll notice too that I paint right over those back hills and down to the waterline. I go back to my palette, and using those same 3 colors, I mix a much richer mix. I want the top of the sky to be much darker than the bottom to give a sense of aerial perspective. With that richer mix, I drop in some more darks towards the top. You'll notice that my paper is still very, very wet. You can see the bead along the bottom, and the paint is moving a lot. If your paint starts to stick and not move around, then you probably need to stop and leave your sky as it is. When painting these big, moody skies, you just need to let go and let watercolor do its magic. Don't overthink things too much. Having said that, there are some things still going on in my head. I want the sky to be much darker at the top than at the bottom, much bolder, more dramatic marks at the top than at the bottom, and again, those vertical strokes at the top, horizontal strokes at the bottom. Just for fun, I decided I needed to add a little bit of purple, but more variation in the color. And then I think that I've got this mast in far too much of a white area, so I darken that a bit. All the time I'm keeping an eye on how damp my paper is, and if there's any hard marks I can soften those with a damp brush, but I don't want to fiddle too much and I don't want to overmix the colors with each other. The sky is getting close to how I imagined it to be, but I do go in much darker at the top, remembering that it's going to dry much, much lighter than it is right now. Right, you can see that the painting's starting to spread a lot less now, so it's time to stop fiddling. All that's left to do is to tidy up that bead along the bottom. If you leave those puddles of water, they probably will create some ugly backgrounds into your beautiful sky above. So I dry my brush on a piece of paper toweling and I lift those puddles off. Also with the damp brush, I just soften around the mast. I don't want any ugly, hard edges there. And then there are some white buildings in those back hills, so I just lift out the paint again with that damp brush. And the sky is done. It didn't take very long, maybe about 5 minutes. I leave the sky to dry completely before I work on the rest of the painting. I hope you enjoyed watching me paint that rainy sky, and I hope you give it a go, because painting rainy skies has got to be one of the most fun things to do in watercolor. If you'd like to learn how to paint the rest of the scene, this video is available as a full tutorial on my website. You'll learn how to paint water, reflections, how to mix color. I've got some advice on how to draw and paint boats, shadows, all sorts of bits and pieces. It really is a full and extensive tutorial and you'll learn a lot. You can find the full tutorial on my website or just click on the link that's in the description below. As always, thanks for following along, and if you do paint a sky, I would love to see it. Until next time, ciao!